Hello, hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Brand Bosses podcast. Thank you so much for being here. So, today we have Katrina Wynn on the podcast. She is a Denver native who's redefining real estate with heart and hustle. As a broker since 2013, she's not just selling homes, she's crafting transformative journeys for her clients. As a 5-star professional service award winner for the past 5 years, Katrina takes on the role of a coach or advisor, diving deep into her clients' psychology to better understand their wants, needs, drives, and fears to curate an individualized experience. With a background in marketing, her knack for building meaningful relationships and connecting with people is at the forefront of her business and daily life. Besides real estate, she loves trying new restaurants and recipes, playing at the park with her dog Oliver, and traveling as often as she can. Katrina challenges herself by working out multiple times a week, particularly HIIT training, and strives to learn something new every day. She currently has K followers on Instagram and counting, so welcome to the show, Katrina.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yes, we're so excited to have you. So she's coming in all the way from Denver. What is it like in Denver right now? Because here we have, I think, negative 15-degree temps.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
We are at 10 today, but the last few days have been so cold. So it's freezing. Oliver hasn't been wanting to go outside. Every time I let him out to go potty, he like runs out, pees, and like just runs back in. And so I have to motivate him. So I'm standing there with a treat. I'm like, you can do it. And he's like,
Yeah.
lady, like this is so unpleasant for me. So we haven't actually left the place in about maybe like 2 or 3 days. Because I hate the cold, he hates the cold. So we're just praying for some warm weather.
Yeah, that is so funny. And we get to see your little pup on Instagram. So what kind of dog is it?
He is a golden doodle mixed with cocker spaniel and husky. He's like my little teddy bear. I literally manifested him because I was looking for like a hypoallergenic dog, and it was impossible to find one in the shelters and everything. So my friend like, referred me to like a breeder, and as soon as I saw his photo, I just knew it was mine. But I literally was looking at photos, and my sister was like, well, what kind of dog are you looking for? And I said I wanted, if I could create my own dog, like a Build-A-Bear situation, I would want a dog that had a teddy bear face, a long body, short legs, and a tail that is either a nub or that goes like this. And he's like exactly what I manifested.
Oh my gosh, that is
Yeah.
so funny. I shouldn't say this because my husband is going to kill me, but I have been wanting a dog for a long time. And literally a golden doodle, like that is the dog I want. I think they're just so freaking cute. So I'm very jealous of
So
you.
no, they're so cute, and you have to get one. I think
I
that
know.
like puppies are super hard. Like I honestly, this is my first dog I've ever had, and I would say the first few months was rough. Like I was like, ugh, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
why did I get this thing? And I think that once we like learn each other's like language and like kind of like get more in sync with one another, we are so attached that like I will say he's like my soul dog. He's not just a dog to me. Like he knows when I'm feeling sad, he knows when I'm going through something. He's like at my feet right now because he knows I'm anxious right now because I get nervous with interviews. And so he's just like, it's crazy how like you live your life and then you're like, okay, well, I've never had this thing, so I don't know what it's like. But once
Mhm.
you have it, it's so impossible for you to imagine what your life would be without it. So I would highly encourage you to get one. I think that your life would just be so different and fulfilled in so many ways that you never think it was possible.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I'm gonna use this. I'm gonna send this to him. So,
Three-way
okay.
me. I will talk to your husband.
Okay, deal, deal. Okay, well, let's get into it. So, you are an advisor in Denver. So, tell us a little bit about this journey. Like, did you know that you wanted to be in real estate from a young age? What did that kind of look like for you?
So I was always really good at storytelling. So I actually thought I was going to be like either a writer or like an actor or something. I don't know. Like I love art. And so when I was in school, like I was really good at marketing. So I got into marketing first. I actually didn't want to be a real estate agent. My mom wanted one of her daughters to be one. So I assumed it was going to be my middle sister because she was like a lot better. She's like more put together, and I just assumed that would be her. And she tried it out and absolutely hated it. And so I was like working in marketing for a while, and I just realized like I wasn't getting the interactions that I wanted. And my mom suggested that I go into real estate. And I'm like, of course, like she's going to insert herself into like my personal crisis. And so I'm like, all right, well, I'll just try and see what happens. And once I like picked up the book, like one of my textbooks, I just absolutely fell in love with it. I love the concepts of it. I think what I love about it was that it was so personal, like everything, it wasn't like so transactional. Because I think with like marketing, sometimes you're not you're not as involved with the consumer as much. You're promoting things, you're creating like products, but you're not developing a relationship with the actual consumers. And I love the fact that with this, it's so hands-on, and I get to be the person that like could facilitate everything from start to finish. And so that was something that was unique to me. So I was really, really fascinated by that.
Yeah, no, I think that's awesome. And so, real estate it can be a tough journey at first, right? When you jump in. And so tell us a little bit about what it's been like for you to scale your business in Denver and the surrounding areas.
So when I first started, it was rough. Like I have never dealt with rejection, and it's still super hard to deal with like loss of deals and stuff like that because you put so much of your energy into every transaction and every interaction that you have with a client. And I think what like just learning how to not take that so personally has been something that I'm working on. I think scalability wise, I think the only way for me to really manage is to create boundaries with my clients, but also not taking on more than what I can handle. Because when you're saying yes to like every single person, then it makes it harder for you to really focus on the type of listings and the type of clientele that you really want. And so just learning to say no to certain clients that I know would not work well with me has been kind of a blessing, to be honest with you. And then working with people that I actually really want to, because then I could really focus all of my energy on them and then just create these like amazing fans, like I love talking to my clients and they're just like, well, I would never work with anyone but you. And I'm just like, wow, that feels good, versus like working with someone that may not understand the value of a real estate agent. So they're always going to question like everything that I'm doing because they don't believe in the services that I can offer, right? So just kind of scaling back on that and just really focusing on the quality over the quantity.
I think that's a great lesson, like not just for real estate, but truly for any industry. Because even us here in Minnesota, this digital marketing agency, I think it takes a little bit for you to understand too who it is your ideal client is and who you're going to work the best with. And so we've kind of learned that, I'd say, especially this past year. And it almost takes a few bad just experiences, for you to understand that. Do you agree with that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And it sucks when it happens because you're like, why can't this work? And I think that there's just certain people that are for you and there's certain people that aren't. And I think
Yeah.
that as like you build your brand, you become more clear about what type of business you want, right? So it's
Hmm.
not like not you're not like I mean it's just like think about cars, right? There's so many different car brands, but there's
Hmm.
certain brands that resonate with certain people and there's certain ones that don't, right? And so you can't be the car that satisfies everybody, even though they kind of all do the same thing. So
Yeah.
I think about it that way, where it's like, okay, I'm this, I might not be for you, and that's totally okay. And if you find someone that like really suits what you're looking for, then I'm happy for you, right? And hopefully that you'll think about me if you have somebody else that's like kind of, I don't know, that's looking for what
Yeah.
I'm looking for, right? So I think being more clear about what you want just kind of like reduces the noise, and it
Mhm.
also helps you conserve your energy too.
Yeah, for sure. And I think you're bringing, this mindset of abundance, which is really awesome too, versus scarcity, right? Thinking that, oh, I have to work with them because I need this for my business or I need this income, whatever it is. And I think it's when you flip that mindset and you're like, you know what, the right person will show up at the right time. I think that is just such a valuable lesson and strategy to take into business overall.
Yeah, for sure. But I think like, but in at first, like you're not going to be in the position to do that. So I would say
Yeah,
just take whatever you can. But then I think
exactly.
over time, then you start to like build your niche. And I
Right.
think that's so important for you to like really clearly identify that.
Hmm.
So yeah, it definitely took me a long time to get to that point because I think a lot of real estate agents kind of deal with this where we are such people pleasers. We want everyone to like us. We want everyone to want to work with us. We want to be the best. We want to like please everyone. But there's just has to be a moment where you're like, okay, I only have this amount of time per
Hmm.
day. So that means that I have to be very strategic about how I spend that time. And
Hmm.
it doesn't mean that I need to go to every single networking event. I don't need to, I don't need to make friends with every single person in the room. And that's
Yeah.
okay, because you only have like so much energy to utilize, so you gotta use it wisely.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's a great lesson. And so, as you've kind of grown your business, you have this background in marketing. So, I want to hear more about that. Like, what did that look like? And how have you kind of brought that experience into your day to day today?
So with my marketing experience, I think that I love to create. So what I love to do is like I love to create like videos, I love to create content. Like it's so fun for me. Like it's like my job after my job, and I'm like constantly working, but I genuinely enjoy it. So sometimes like when I'm home, like after a long day of work, I'm on my computer just like editing and like clipping things together and like creating like the stories that I want to create for my audience. And so for me, I think that that's what I really enjoy. It's like whatever I like, I know I can connect that to my audience, and it's
Hmm.
authentic. It's not like, oh hey, like let's do this, and I really don't like that. So if I really don't like something, I won't post it. And so I think that there are certain things about the way that I create videos is that like if I'm not watching it over and over and if I'm not interested in it, I know that my audience wouldn't. So that's something that develops over time. But also I don't want to put out content just to put out content. So if there's something that I know I don't love, I can't in good conscience just put it out there just for the sake of putting it out there. I know that there's certain content creators that are like, well, just put it out there. Who cares? Like you gotta do your 50 posts a week or whatever. And for me, like I would rather do less posts but higher quality posts because I
Hmm.
want that to be my brand. I don't want to
Yeah.
just spam people. So I would say that that's kind of how I do that. But also with my presentations, I try to curate it based on my conversations with them. So that initial conversation with them, I could kind of analyze like what kind of client they are. So if they're more data driven, then I know that I have to present more data when we meet face to
Hmm.
face or over Zoom. If they're more of an emotional buyer, then I'm going to cater to that as well. If they're selling their property, like how do we develop a storyline around the house that they just purchased and
Hmm.
or they purchased, and how do we relay that to the buyers? So
Yeah.
it's just you just have to cater it according to what the clientele is, and it's different for
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah, and I think we even do that here too, which is like you can kind of read someone when you first meet them. You're going to be automatically like, okay, I need to kind of come at this person or present my services in this way versus that. And I think though that's a developed skill because when I first started my business, I didn't really have that gauge. How I presented what we offer it was standard across the board. But as I kind of got more experience and I worked with more and more people and I got that kind of exposure, it was only then when I was able to come and be like, okay, I can tell this person, like you said, is analytical, or this person is more emotional. And like I said, that's such a great skill in real estate and marketing, whatever it is that you are bringing to the table, which is so awesome. And so thinking more about the marketing side, so you have this page, you have over 55,000 followers, which is crazy to think about. Tell us a little bit about how, like, when did you first start your Instagram account?
I started it probably at the beginning of my career, so probably 12 years ago. It was just like kind of just trying to engage as much as possible with different accounts, like follow and just trying to figure out like hashtags and all of those things. And I think that like I just wasn't really good at it, to be honest with you, like initially, because I felt like it was all about the aesthetics. And so if you go through my page, like in the very beginning, which is like everything had to be extremely cohesive.
Mm-hmm.
And I think over time, I just developed being more like just skills with just being more comfortable with being on camera. Like I really struggle with stage fright. And so I had so much anxiety with just filming in general or just talking to people in general because I would just stop in the middle of my sentence and I'm like, wait, I forgot what I was saying. I'm so sorry. And I think maybe like COVID kind of helped with like my anxiety with being on camera because I had to be on camera so much that I just had to get over it. But I think it's just like learning to understand that like, okay, if I am putting something out there, if I'm creating a video, I have a teleprompter, I have like all of these other tools that helps me with my anxiety, first of all, my stage fright,
Mm-hmm.
but also realizing that I could go back and just edit if there's something I said that I didn't like, and people aren't like nitpicking my like everything word for word. And I don't think that people care that much. So I've learned to just let it go. And if people like it, great. If they don't, they don't. And then just but like how it really kind of grew was when I started doing videos about like real estate scams. And that was super interesting because I wouldn't say I got like canceled, but kind of just a little bit. I kind of like ruffled some feathers and
Yeah, and we don't necessarily need to dive into all of that, but I think what's interesting is people were responding to you highlighting some of these scams or maybe controversial information. Is that right?
yeah, I think that some people were doing some unethical business practices.
Mm-hmm.
And when I learned about it, I was like, wait, is this really happening? So I would go on, like, I would just do like a deep dive and do as much research as possible and us exposing it because I felt like the consumers need to know, right? And I
Yeah.
think that working in an industry where when your clients trust you, they trust you fully. They'll
Mm-hmm.
listen to whatever you say. If you're like, "Hey, I found this really great thing, like this is what you should do." Of course they're going to listen to you because you've already developed that trust. And so I think that when you abuse that trust is when I have a problem with it. And so
Mm-hmm.
I did some scam videos, got on the news, kind of made some really big accounts really mad, and that's what happened. But I don't regret. I think I will start doing it again. I just think it's just there was just so much like so many lawsuits happening last year with like NAR with different real estate companies and stuff like that. So I felt like I needed to scale back because I didn't want people to not trust real estate
Mm-hmm.
agents. I think that there's a lot of people that are really honest and that they really are looking out for their clients' best interests.
Mm-hmm.
But there's just so much negativity that I just
Yeah.
didn't want to contribute to that. I still want to educate people on like different practices and stuff like that and what to avoid. But I don't think that I don't know. It was just like, I think I need to figure out like a lighter way to pivot,
Mm-hmm.
and still highlight that, but not in the way that I did.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I respect you for following your gut on that, right? And standing up for what you believe. I don't think anybody can say much about someone doing that if it's truly, in goodwill, which it seems like, obviously you were looking out for your clients and other people.
Yeah, for sure. And because there's nothing like more disheartening when you hear a client getting conned or scammed. And like with real estate, like this is the biggest asset that someone will ever have in their entire life. Like it's not like just, a crappy desk that you bought and then you could just return it, right? Like this is all of your life savings, something that you worked so hard your entire life, and you're putting it all in one asset. And for that to go away, or for someone to like take advantage of someone who is more vulnerable, I just find that so hard. Like that's such a hard pill to swallow for me, because especially since with my job, like all I'm doing is protecting my clients, right? And so I'm always talking to them about the risk of like different strategies, like different things, like the different liabilities and stuff like that. So I feel like for me, when someone doesn't have that protections in place and they unfortunately got involved in a really tough situation, that's so heartbreaking for me, you know?
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
yeah, so I think it is a really, really position to be in. And especially when you like have to deal with other people who are like, well, that's not really a scam. There's a loophole. I'm like, well, even though it's not illegal and you found a loophole
Hmm.
doesn't make it ethical, right? So
Yeah.
I feel very strongly about that.
Yeah, and where do you think that comes from? Like, do you think you kind of grew up in a household seeing figures that were, showed some of those protective emotions and things like that? Or do you think you kind of developed that just through life?
Well, because I'm in my family, I'm the oldest, and
Yeah.
so I've always been very protective of like my sisters and like my
Okay.
friends and everything. So I feel like I'm kind of like the mama bear, because I
Wow.
am very protective of the people I care about. But I also like started getting during COVID, I got really into like just learning about like different scams. So I would just watch a lot of videos and documentaries about like different scams, and it's crazy how, like I said, like there's a lot of like loopholes, right? There's a lot of things that the government isn't aware of. So there's things that people can get away with for a period of time. And when you follow that enough and you hear about how much it has affected someone's livelihood, right? Like how much their life has been destroyed, you feel for them, because in so many ways, like it could be my parents. Like I was watching one about like it was like a telemarketing scam, and they
Hmm.
were scamming people, like elderly people or people who had language barriers, because they wanted to support their local police officers. I mean, why wouldn't they? Because they want to, make sure that they get the equipment that they need and the
Hmm.
resources that they need. So in their eyes, they're like, well, I'm helping the community. But
Right.
once they were scammed out of like their life savings over a period of time, and you're hearing about people who lost their entire life savings, now they have to go work at, I don't know, Walmart or Starbucks or whatever, and they're in their 80s because they don't have anything left. Like, how does that not keep you up at night? You know what I'm saying? And so for
Hmm.
me, like, that's something that my parents would be vulnerable to, because they're not good at computers. They just want what's best for their community as well. They have language barriers. They're not educated. And so for me, like, that could easily been my parents or my grandparents. And so when I see that, I have to do something about it. Even though I'm not a lawyer, but like, I don't know. I just feel like if it's just creating awareness, I think that is where it starts, right?
Yeah. And I think that's a beautiful example of how you can use social media for good. I think there's a
Yeah.
lot of just negativity out there regarding social media, just in general, but you kind of saw it as a platform that you can use to raise awareness for what you're seeing. And I think that's really beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. And I love like giving people tips at the end of how to avoid it.
Yeah.
And I just love the fact that people are like, oh my God, I had no idea that this was a thing, but now I know how to protect myself. And I
Right.
just think that that's something that you have to know. But how would you know if, like, something is happening behind the scenes without you being aware of it? Like when someone sends you a document and tells you to sign, if you don't understand what you're signing and there's a language barrier, you're going to probably just sign it because
Yeah.
whoever you trust is asking you to do so, right? And
Mhm.
it's for your benefit. But I think that being able to kind of shed light on certain practices, I think that that's just so important for people. And they might not ever use me as their real estate agent, but if I could protect them in some sort of way, I think that that's worth it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think that just shows the integrity that you bring, like in business overall, which I think is just so awesome and so needed, especially, in the real estate sphere. So I think
Yeah.
that's great. And so looking at your social media, what I like about it is that you don't hold back from exploring kind of new things, right? I think the other day you did kind of like your different outfits. You posted with your, little Oliver, things like that, which I love the diversity of it because I think there's actually a strategy behind that because you're speaking to different people essentially. Like you're creating these almost conversation points with a diversity of people by showing the diversity within yourself. And so can you speak to a little bit about this? Like what's the kind of strategy you take? Do you have like content pillars? Do you spell it out? Do you just kind of go with whatever you're feeling? What does that look like for you?
I do have content pillars that I
Yeah.
gravitate towards. So I try to do things that I know that I'm interested in and like the videos that I love to watch. And I just try to recreate those. But I also want people to get to know me. I don't want people to be intimidated to contact me. I think that when you focus on one niche so much, I think that you're just like pigeonholed. And I think that there's just so many layers to me, and I think that there's so many layers to other people too, and I want to connect with them on different things. So
Mhm.
I love like being able to inspire them to go, like, I don't know, do like a spa day for themselves, or
Yeah.
like just different ways of wearing like certain things, or just like how much I like love hanging out with my dog, and like just things like that. I just think there's just so many layers to people, and I hope that people find it relatable, but I just don't want it to be just real estate because it's not just real estate for me. Like I feel like when I'm at a house with people, we have so many different talking points about so many different things. And I think that that just creates another layer of connection with them versus it just being it super robotic, like here's this house, here's this other house. And I just don't think that that's why people buy homes. People buy homes because there's an emotional connection to it, right? When you're in a space that makes you feel good, that you could see yourself living there, you could entertain there, you could grow there, there's a level of emotion that goes into it. It's not just, okay, this is a house that has 3 bedrooms and 2 baths. Okay, well, there's thousands of homes like that, but how does that home make you feel? And then how
Yeah.
does it make you feel when you even pull into it, right? Like that's something that no one ever thinks about, but you think about that when you pull in, because after a long day of work, doesn't it feel so good when you're like, this is my house, I'm so happy I'm here, right? That should be
Yeah.
your happy place. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think there's so much depth that you bring, like that awareness. I don't think I've heard a lot of realtors, if any, talk about that. Like, how do you feel? Like, that's such a deep question. And even like
Yeah.
you bringing your clients into that moment, like, hey, be present here. Like, let's not be in the past, let's not be in the future. Like, right now, how do you feel? Because this is what you're going to come home to. Like, there's so much depth into that.
Yeah, thank you. And I love it when I ask that too, because it's like they just don't think of it. They're like, wait,
Right.
I, you're right. I really love driving up this driveway and pulling into this neighborhood. I love seeing this view like that I get to
Yeah.
wake up to every day. And I'm just like, that's how you should feel every day. This is your sanctuary. This is the place that you spend the most of your time in. And so that should be more than just like 4 walls and a roof, right? I think that I find it fascinating when people only look at it that way because I'm just like, well, yeah, it is all that, but that's a lot of homes too, right? So
Hmm.
I think that just having that extra layer and just honestly just kind of narrating how they will live in that space is really cool. Like I had a client that absolutely loves to cook, but she also like likes to sew. So I'm like, okay, well, what can we get you a sewing room? And she's like, yeah, I think that would be really cool. So I was like, okay, cool. So we're walking into this house, and then there's this beautiful kitchen with so much countertop space, so much storage. I'm like, this is going to be amazing for you. And the layout is just perfect for entertaining. But then there's this one room in particular that had so much sunlight. And she walked in and she's like, this is the sewing room. I'm like, we saw 10 houses, and the fact that you're able to remember, right,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
little thing would make such a difference. I mean, that's why we do it. I think that is just so exciting for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, you can see your passion. It's so vivid for what you do. And I think honestly, that's what helps any entrepreneur stand out amongst the noise is like the passion, the genuine passion that they bring because it sells for them. They don't even have to do much, right? The passion is just there. And
Mhm.
so one word that comes to mind when I look at your social too and just your overall brand is it just feels very authentic. And so,
Mhm.
how, like, speaking to someone who is maybe getting started, becoming a new entrepreneur, how would you kind of advise them to find their authentic voice and their place within their brand?
I would say I would start with what do they already gravitate towards? Like you don't have
Yeah.
to reinvent the wheel. You know
Yeah.
what you like, right?
Yeah.
So if you could take parts of those things and then kind of just make it your own, I think that
Yeah.
would be the easiest way. Because I think everybody's always like, well, I'm just going to try to create this. I'm going to try to create that. I'm like, well, there's so much out there. What do you gravitate towards? For me,
Right.
I like things to be very aesthetically pleasing. If things are like off centered or like imbalanced in some sort of way, or like the camera's too shaky, or just like, I don't know, that drives me crazy. So for me, those type of that content doesn't work for me, or like just like really text heavy type stuff. I like things that are more like scenic and cinematic. And so those are like, and then even the music I choose is very calming because that's the type of music I listen to when I'm working. And
Yeah.
so it's just whatever you're gravitating towards, lean into that, right?
Yeah.
And then your audience will also lean into that too. You don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, and I think so many people like approach social media like, well, what are other people going to think? Like, or what is my ideal client going to want to see, which I think is a great lens to use here and there, but ultimately, you're bringing up a great point, which is you are your best example. Like, what do you enjoy seeing? What music do you like? Because a lot of times the people that we're attracting have similar tastes and interests like us. And so
Yeah,
we're speaking directly to them without even thinking about it. And so I think that's a
exactly.
great point. And also that way, you stay in line with your branding consistently, but you're also not straying away from, the things that you believe and the content that feels most aligned with you.
Yeah, 1,000%. And I think that when it becomes unauthentic is when, or inauthentic is when you're trying to mimic somebody that you know is not you. Like I will never be Gary Vee, right? Like that's just not my brand at all. I will never be able to do what he does. I will never even be like call her daddy. Like I just like that's just not me, right? But I just think like for me, like I like the storytelling. I love to capture certain moods, right? And for me, it's like, how does it make me feel? Because the way that I work is also about capturing the feelings too. Like
Yeah.
when I have a listing, for example, like I have a listing that's coming up right now, and we're just talking about like just how do we create that narration from the moment that they walk in? What do they smell? How
Mm.
are like how what do they feel with the sunlight, with the lighting? Like how do
Yeah.
we pivot this, and how do we make certain rooms warmer when it's empty or something? You know what I mean? So I feel like trying to utilize that to create that feeling is so important. It's like why people go to certain cocktail bars or restaurants. It's how you feel when you first walk in. When the
Yeah.
light is like low, it creates a different type of mood than if all of the lights are on and it's super bright inside, right?
Right.
So I think all of those things matter. Or even like Disney World, right? When you're in different sections, they will
Hmm.
actually release certain smells of like waffles or whatever. And it almost creates that nostalgia for you where you're like, okay, you feel like a kid again. You're kind of craving for waffles. You don't know why. You haven't eaten it in like 5 years, but now you want one, right? And it's just like creating that nostalgia for people. And I think that like when you understand that dynamic of how people think, it's so fascinating. It's like I don't know if you watch Apple Music, like the documentaries on how it's like there's a documentary on like a docu series that Mark Ronson created on Apple Music. He talks about sampling on one of the first episodes. You have to watch it. It's so good.
Okay.
But it's talking about like how sampling certain music creates hits because certain beats create nostalgia, right? Like if you hear a song that sounds kind of familiar, all of a sudden it ties into a memory that you have. Now, every time you hear this song, you love this song so much, but you don't know why because it ties, but it's because you already developed an emotional connection to it prior. And now that you're hearing the same beat again, it's rebuilding that connection to that same beat. Like, is that so
Wow.
interesting?
That is so interesting.
Yeah. It's the same thing with
Wow.
space too. Like if you grew up with like a room where there was like a garden or I don't know, with like tons of windows, high ceilings, or just whatever it is. If you go into a house that reminds you of that nostalgia, you're instantly connected to it.
Wow.
Isn't that weird?
That is so fascinating. So do you, I mean, that kind of brings up a question. Do you like ask your clients like about their like their childhood home or anything like that?
Yeah, I do. I think I asked them about like really what kind of atmosphere do they feel most comfortable in?
Yeah.
What does that look like? And sometimes they're like, I actually really don't know. I don't really think about that. And I was like, well, why not? Like when you're in your office, like I told you about my office, like
Yeah.
I wanted something really warm. I like
Hmm.
things really monochromatic. I like things to be very like uniform because that allows me to focus a little bit more, right? But that's the same thing when it comes to space too. And so they're like, well, I like this. This is like the kind of coffee shop I like. And I'm like, okay, so then we need to gravitate towards something that kind of mimics that, right? Like where you spend your most of your time in is what is going to help inspire your space to look similar to that, right?
Wow. That's so
Yeah.
interesting.
I know. It's like people don't think about it that way. I think that's why like
No.
some people go to like their a coffee shop over and over again, like week after week. And I'm like, you like this aesthetic. Why don't you create that in your own space? And they're just like, I never thought of it that way. That's like
Huh.
that's so weird. Like you should. And that way because that particular atmosphere inspires you, right? Helps
Yeah.
you focus. So you should that should trickle into the space that you spend most of your time with or time in. Yeah.
Wow. That's a great way to look at it. The things we learn. Crazy.
I know.
Yeah, well, you'll have to send me that Apple Music thing after this so I can put it in the show notes for people. But
Yeah.
that is so fascinating. I love how you just bring so many, I guess, different areas into your business, whether it's psychology, whether it's aesthetic, whatever it is. Like you're just so open to learning, and I can see that. And then that trickles into kind of how you approach business, and it's so fascinating and it's so unique.
Thank you. I think it's just being a nerd, but also just like having the curiosity of like
Yeah.
why do people are drawn to certain things like
Yeah.
food, rice, right? Like there's certain things that builds nostalgia when it comes to like certain dishes that you eat or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think that all of those senses matter in especially in real estate. I think that's why like when it comes to certain demographics or like certain clients, like they're not going to be for me because I'm all about the feelings. But
Yeah.
if they're like in denial, they're just like want the stats, that's probably not going to be, I'm probably not going to be the best fit for them because
Yeah.
of the way that I see things. I just think about like how someone experiences that space, how they utilize every single inch of that space. What does this serve for them? That to me is how I operate, which is a little bit different. I think it's probably different from most people in real estate because it is kind of about the sale. But I don't know. I think that the sale doesn't matter if they buy a place and they absolutely hate it. Then what's the point, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think honestly we need more people like with that voice because it's like we do not need to be like force selling people our product. Like it should be a natural and organic kind of transaction. And I think you're showing that. Like it's truly based on alignment. And I don't think like we approach business like that enough, honestly, whether it's selling, whether it's marketing, whatever it is. And I think you're really painting a great example of like what that looks like.
Yeah, and I think that I think that's how you create a cult following, right? With like certain
Mm-hmm.
brands. If you really resonate with their messaging, their purpose or like their
Yeah.
mission in general, it just creates like a deeper connection with that brand versus than just like buying any product. Like if you go to the store and you just buy hyaluronic acid, there's like 10 different products that you can choose from, but you choose one that you most like resonate with, right?
Right.
With the packaging, the way it feels in your hand, the way it feels on your skin. I think all of those things are so sensory and it all matters. And I think that people kind of underestimate like how much that matters to people. And I feel that
Mm-hmm.
way with the home too. So that's why I think when we go to homes and maybe like a fix and flipper came in and they just made everything super sterile. And I'm just like, wow, there's like a missed opportunity here. You could have created more warmth with a different type of like lamp or a different type of like backsplash or a different color carpet or something like that, where when people walk in, they automatically feel warmth and welcome, right? It shouldn't just be so sterile and dry.
Yeah.
And that's why people hate hospitals because it is sterile, right? Every hospital looks so depressing, but if they could just like revamp that a little bit and just create like different lighting and different art so that way it feels more comforting, I think that people
Yeah.
will feel differently when they go visit a doctor's office or something.
Wow. Well, it's
Yeah.
so fascinating to talk to you because you bring such a different approach. I'm just sitting here like, wow, like that is just so awesome to hear you talk about how you go about your business. Because like I said, it's so unique to you. And I just wish, I wish I had more of that. I wish everybody had more of that because I can just tell you're very confident in yourself and you're confident in what you serve and who you serve and what you offer. And I think that's truly like why you've been able to build this amazing brand. And so as we look to wrap up the episode, what would you say either to your younger self, maybe just starting out, or maybe, like I said, someone kind of entering into entrepreneurship? What would you tell them about kind of how to build this confidence when it comes to business?
I would say that comparing yourself to other people is probably the worst thing you could ever do for yourself. I think that there's so much space and there's just so much space for everybody to grow and for you to be what you want to be. And so I think that just gravitating towards whatever you're already gravitating towards and like kind of like convey that to your audience is going to be the best way for you to keep your authenticity and just like avoid, comparing yourself to other people. And it is really hard, especially in real estate, because you're always hearing people like, oh, this person just did this person just did that. And it's just like, oh my God, why am I not there? And I think that you have to like learn that everyone's process is so different and that's okay. You know, like I will probably never be the $100 million producer because for me, I can't be this emotional all the time with that many clients. Like I really just need to like have a very particular niche of like people that I want to work with that would really appreciate my belief system and how I operate. And so I feel like that for me was just something that I had to learn that won't bring me the happiness that I want. And that's not the type of business that I want. If somebody has that, I'm happy for them, but that's just not
Mm-hmm.
me, right? I like balance. I like to enjoy my life. I want to spend time with my dog and my friends. I want to be able to learn new skill sets. I don't want to be pigeonholed into just one thing because I don't truly believe on one thing. And I think that for my best advice is for them to just mimic whoever they gravitate towards. And if it doesn't feel authentic to them, it's okay for them to just kind of pull back and then just kind of like reanalyze, right? And their definition of success is going to be different from everyone else. It's just not one level. Like not everybody has to be millionaires in order for them to be successful. It just depends on what it looks like for them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then just kind of maintaining a good balance between so many different parts of your life. Like you can't be successful and be successful just in business. You got to be successful in maintaining your health, maintaining relationships in your life, right? And I think that once you kind of create that balance in your life, that's when you know you freaking got it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I am kind of speechless after all that. That was so good. You are so moving and just how you present
Oh,
yourself and how you speak. Like you have it all going on for you and I'm just so happy that we met. And I know that this podcast is really going to inspire someone out there and motivate them to just I don't know be more confident, to love themselves, to take an approach to business that feels right to them, that maybe isn't right to the eyes of the world but is right to them. And I think, like I said, you've just been such a great example of that and you've shown that in your career. And so I really appreciate you being here, and just
thank
getting
you for
to know
having
you has
me.
been getting to know you has been such a blessing.
Yeah, I really appreciate this too. I think it's not every day that I get to talk about this, especially on a platform because it's hard to put this all in like a 30 to 60-second reel. So I really
Yeah.
appreciate this type of conversation. And I just want to say you're such a great interviewer. Thank you so much for making me feel comfortable because
Oh, thank
I
you.
don't do this often. So I definitely appreciate you and your talents as well. This has been extremely pleasant and super fun.
Well, thank you, Katrina, and thanks for being here. And you're always welcome on our show. We'd love to have you back sometime.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. Well, thanks for being here, everybody. I really appreciate it. And we have some awesome guests on season 4 of the podcast. So stay tuned. Thank you again to Katrina for being here with us today. Talk to you
Thank
soon.
you. Bye.